Hi everyone, back again. I'm hoping you can hear me properly because I'm trying out a new microphone, so hopefully it's working all right and you can hear me. Um, and I know it's not the best time of day to be doing this because everyone's at work, but I'm having a day off today, at home looking after my daughter. So I thought I would come on here. I was getting some painting done anyway, so I thought I'd jump on here and do this. So currently, um, working on some Space Wolves as a commission for Gilded Skull, and yeah, they're going all right. They're not too bad. We're making some good progress. I'm got at the point now where I'm working on their painting the faces and stuff at the moment. So he's not quite finished yet, but this is probably the most complete one because I've got the highlights and the armor as a test to make sure. So I'm working through the faces and stuff at the minute. So yeah, you can see they're getting there. It's basically the whole of the new Space Wolf set. So again, these ones are not quite done. They're sort of just testing out the colours and everything, but we're getting there. Last was doing sort of putting all these markings and stuff on. So but yeah, so I'm just basically just working through the faces at the moment. Not doing anything too fancy. They're sort of trying to keep them just sticking to the same skin tones. Really got sort of two skin tones. Got the uh, couple of different ones. So not going too crazy with them, but quite happy with how they're coming out so far. So yeah, they're all good. Um, yeah, so as I say, new microphone. I first time I actually use an external microphone doing any of my uh, recordings. So I'm hoping it's. I did a test and it did seem to be all right, but I'm not 100%. Hopefully, it sounds a little better than the sort of the built-in mic that I have been using up to this point. Um, yeah, so fingers crossed it's all okay. As I said, I'm not expecting loads of people to be able to jump on here because I know it's not the best time of day, but my daughter's having a nap, so it seemed like a good idea to jump on here and do this. As I said, these are not going too crazy. I'm quite. This is kind of a method that I use for painting faces, and it's only sort of I don't know 4 or 5 steps or something like that to get the skin down. I've got some more detailed methods that I use sometimes for doing characters and things, but as there's about 20 of them to do, and they're all kind of because they're all pretty much all of them got no helmets on, so they all need the faces doing. So I'm not gonna go too mad, but it's a method that I like using, so it's reasonably quick. So yeah, hopefully, um, would someone mind just quickly sticking a comment on just to double check that the sound's coming through all right? Because I'm using a new microphone, not tried it before, so make sure you can actually hear what I'm saying. I'd appreciate it if you don't mind. Yeah, so no, hopefully this is all in focus. So this is just a base coat of Bugman's Glow, nice and thin, built up about 3 coats maybe, nice and thin, so don't obscure any detail. And then the next step is going back over that with a mix of Cajun Flesh Tone and the Bugman's Glow as well. This is sort of just the next step up. This is really thin. It's more of a glaze than anything else, just to kind of so you can still see that original color coming through underneath, and it's sort of like doing it back to front in terms of the shading. So that that base coat ends up being the sort of the shade color in the recesses, and they're kind of building it up from there instead. which as I said, this is kind of a method that I use majority of the time when I'm doing faces, especially on sort of infantry anyway, because it's relatively straightforward and doesn't take a huge amount of effort. It ends up looking quite nice when it's done. Which is what you want when you're army painting. As I said, these aren't mine. This is a commission, and I've actually really enjoyed this one. It's been a fun little project. I'm quite happy with how quickly I've managed to get through it as well. These grey hunters, yeah, I think these ones are. So that's with the red pads. They're grey hunters, and then these ones with the yellows are blood claws. I don't really know much about Space Wars, I have to say, but yeah, and then we've got these guys as well. They're all sort of in a semi finished state. They're coming together quite nicely. I'm quite happy with them. But yeah, getting that getting that yellow down on the pads, that took quite a bit of time. Painting yellow with the brush is not much fun, because they came to be built, so otherwise I would have done the pads separately and airbrushed them. But oh, thank you very much. They look amazing too strongly. Yeah, yellow's tricky. Yellow is tricky. You just have to take your time, build it up really slowly. Lots and lots of very thin coats until it looks nice. A lot of good contrast paints, yellow contrast paints, but which can speed the process up. But I was quite specific about the yellow I wanted to use on these ones, so yeah, I sort of stuck with that. As I said, if they were mine, I would have painted them with the pads off, and then built that color. Use the airbrush to do it. But it's fine. It's fine. It didn't take too long. Just a bit fiddly. Yeah, been a good time in Pure Office. I've never used it in Pure Office. This the contrast paint. I've heard good things though. Never tried it myself. I've got a few yellow contrasts, but to be honest, I don't really paint yellow very often. It doesn't really come up. But yeah, I've heard that's a good one. Let's say this is just slowly building this color up. It's just a case of doing a little bit at a time. And I'm doing two or three of these guys at the same time, doing the faces. Rather than doing all sort of 20 of them at once, just that way I'm not going to rush them. But yeah, as I said, it's been a fun little project so far. All my with helmets, yeah, sensible. If you want to get through them faster, yeah, doing them all with the helmets on, definitely. That's a sensible way to go. But as I say, these aren't mine. They're a commission, so it wasn't my choice. But I can completely understand why you would want to have the helmets off, because they are really nice. They've got a lot of character. All these the the bear heads that come with the kit. They're really nice. I can completely understand why you want to use them. But yes, if you want to get through them quickly, yeah, definitely having the helmets on is the way to go. Yeah, faces can be it's understandable. Faces can be tricky. It can be a bit scary. I'm still my first 5 block, so not a quick job. No, you can get really good results with some of the contrast paints though that are sort of designed for flesh, for doing skin, by having a really light base coat, like what would you use? I'm not sure. Like a really and then putting those just literally just putting those flesh tone contrast paints directly over the top, and then calling it a day at that. They actually that does work really well. I painted up a load of guard a while back just doing that because I didn't want to be messing around. But it works quite nicely. So this is now this is just Cadian flesh tone, just pure, not mixed with the Bugman's glow. And then this will just be kind of focused on a slightly smaller area and kind of the more the highlight bits and sort of like across the front, the top of the head, top of the nose, all that sort of stuff. And again, it's very thin. It's very, very watered down because I want the rest of the I want the color underneath to kind of bleed through slightly, so it blends a bit more. And this is tricky doing this on camera. I'd much rather have this closer to my face. So I hope you can see it okay. I did try to film a tutorial for painting faces like this a while back, and it was just a complete disaster, and I scrapped it. I scrapped the video and deleted it all because I just couldn't get it to focus properly and couldn't keep it all. So something I'll work on at some point. Painting painting faces like on camera is not easy, I find, because I want this right up near my face so I can see what I'm doing. So yeah, hopefully you can see that okay. Might be a little bit blurry. Yeah, so it's really just a case of slowly layering these colours up. And just concentrating more to the high raised points. And it is very subtle, but it does start to make more sense once, as those colours are built up, you can start to see it more. But again, this is not sort of the there's a couple of the characters in here, like this guy especially. I think I'll probably put a little bit more effort into the face, a few more steps. I use sort of more for characters and things. His entire book commissioned to yes, yeah, the whole thing, yeah. So 20 of the infantry, and then the two characters in the what are these guys called? These guys, yeah. So it's basically the whole of that box. and I'm hoping I'll have it done sort of, I don't know, maybe this time next week. I had a real long old break from doing the commissions for a bit because I sort of had a bit too much stuff going on, so I kind of knocked it on the head. But um, circumstances have changed a bit, so I'm kind of picking them up a little bit more. I do quite like doing it. It's good practice. You get to do stuff that you wouldn't normally work on. I wouldn't have bought this box set. Not that I don't like it or anything. It's good, but I just wouldn't, just because I've got too much other stuff to be dealing with. So I'm assuming that the sound is coming through okay. Because as I said at the beginning, I'm using a new microphone, and this is the first outing for it. So I'm assuming you can hear me all right. And sorry I'm being a little bit quiet. I do tend to be quite quiet on these live streams, because it's just some sort of concentrating. But I am here. And I don't get to do them very often, the live streams, and I do quite enjoy doing it. But yeah, today, day off work, so I'm looking after the kids and doing the school runs and all that sort of stuff because my wife has gone to Wimbledon, watch the tennis today. You're a good volume. Oh, good. Okay, good. Sounds working then. That's great. I did a test with it yesterday using the software that I sort of record the voiceover and stuff. For my for the videos for the channel, and it seemed to be work all right. Certainly sounded better, I thought, and it was doing quite a good job of blocking out all the background noise and stuff. So I was quite pleased with it. Nothing fancy, quite a cheap one, but it seems to do the job. All right, so I don't know how well you can see that, but you're starting to see some of the detail coming out in comparison. Sort of slightly lighter and still to tell. Heat down England is oh, apologies. The heat down England is crazy. Happy the cool temperature. Oh, is it cooler up there? Yesterday was absolutely ridiculous. Down here, the temperature was just. I'm not even sure what it got to. It was like, it was thinking about 35 at one point. I was working yesterday, and I work as an engineer, so I was I spend most of my time outside, which is fine most of the time. But um, yeah, in that sort of temperature, it was just it was a bit much. And I work sort of outside as out in a car park, absolutely boiling, not much fun. So yeah, I was quite happy that it's cooled down now. It's rained overnight, and it's a bit cooler down here now. So it's taking the edge off. But yeah, God, yeah, yesterday was not much fun. None of my kids really slept properly last night, and all too hot. Got fans going and all of that. About 15 degrees there. Wow. Yeah, that's a bit of difference. It's still really warm here. I've got all the doors open and stuff, and yeah, it's still hot, but nothing like yesterday. Yeah. What's that? What factions do you like? Well, most of them really. as far as the factions are concerned. I collect quite a few. There's a few that I don't really have any interest in, just because I tend to I like the painting side of it more than the game, and I just don't have enough time to try out everything. But I've got quite a few little collections. Again, they tend to sort of live in boxes, or I've got a few out on the shelf here, but so this is again the Cadian flesh tone with a little bit of Kislev flesh mixed in, just a little bit, just to lighten it a tiny bit. So again, this is the same process. It's just sort of covering a ever so slightly smaller area, and again, kind of focusing more to the top of the face, the forehead, and these sort of larger flat areas and stuff. Um, Trying to sort of get it all to blend together. The really, really thin layers. So yeah, I apologize as well that things have been a bit quiet actually on the channel itself in terms of the actual sort of long form videos. I kind of it's been a few weeks now since I managed to get one out. I'm kind of halfway through filming one, and then I've got another one which I'm going to be starting soon as well, which is going to be arriving at some point. So filming two at once, and I will get them out, and then yeah, just I had to put a few things on hold, unfortunately. So ideally, I'd like to have a video out every week, but it's just not always possible. So yeah, apologies about that. I wish I could dedicate a bit more time to it, but yeah, unfortunately, it's not always possible. Maybe one day. You never know. Yeah, I have to say, I'm quite glad I didn't have to go to work today after yesterday. After all that working in that heat and stuff, I just thought, yeah, it sort of timing worked out quite nicely to not be in today. I hope everyone is doing well. You're not overheating or anything. I think it'll be a bit cooler now. I think from what I gather, it's I think that's the worst of it over. I don't mind the nice weather, but it does get to a point not really geared up for that sort of heat over here. Okay. So next, this is just going to go up to there. I mix slightly more of the Kislev flesh, and not quite at. It's more or less more or less just because they're flesh, but again, this is very, very thin. This has definitely been a good practice for me anyway, doing faces, doing these. It's been a while since I've done any. And suddenly having 20 of them to paint. Yeah, sorry, being quiet. That was just yeah, concentrate. I don't know. Can you? Hopefully, you can see that. I'm not sure. Hopefully, that comes out okay. We can definitely start to see a bit more definition and stuff, and they sort of yeah, a bit more see the face a bit more, see his features. I mean, it certainly could leave it at that point, but I'm going to add a few more. There's a few more steps, but certainly tabletop. You know, from a bit of a distance, it works quite nicely. Yeah, you can see the highlights of the faces. Oh yeah, thank you. Good. So it's not the hardest technique in the world. It's just a case of just building up really slowly. Again, not the I'm not the I don't claim to be the best at painting faces or anything. People, this is not sort of display level stuff, but this will work nicely as an army painting thing. I do like these heads, though the bear heads. I don't collect space balls or anything, but I mean, I can be quite tempted to see if I could get a few of these just to add to my own marines because they're really nice. A lot of character to them. Yeah, 18 in each infantry, get 10 plus helmet ones. Yeah, I mean, this is it. I'm sure there's a lot of people that bought that set and didn't want the heads. So I might look on eBay, see if I can find some. Not that I'm painting any Marines anytime soon for my own stuff, but at some point, yeah, too many other things to deal with. But I think they work quite nicely on mine. At some point, if I ever get any more. Okay, so next sticks. Need this one. This is corn red, and this needs to be really thin. It sort of has to be almost nothing there. So that sort of gets dropped in around the eyes and the centre of the face. It just helps to add a bit of colour. Pick out a little bit of that detail. The same sort of on the bottom of the mouth. And I always like to do that around any of these little studs and things. Just so it sort of looks like there's a bit of scarring and stuff around there. Sorry, it's not focusing. Not sure that's noticeable on the camera again, but I can see it from where I am. It's sort of exaggerated, but it does the job. I think to get those details showing a little bit. And yeah, if I was doing a character, there's definitely more steps, but that's kind of, I'm quite happy with where that's sitting at the moment as a army painting thing, you know. Obviously going to do the hair and the teeth and all of that stuff, which I might just go straight in with this one and do that now. So I'm doing my best to kind of mix the colors up and stuff. So this one, I think I'm going to do the same I did with this guy. So going with that sort of very bright orangey ginger hair, sort of classic space wolf thing, which I noticed that they didn't seem to do that on any of the new ones on the all the box art and stuff. But I quite like it. So I'm going to do a few of them like this. So 1 minute, somebody at the door. 1 second. Oh, right. Sorry about that. This is it was the postman. So another commission just arrived, which I was waiting for today. I knew it was going to be turning up. It's a very big box. I don't know. Do you want to see what it is? I know what it is. I'll leave that for the time being. Maybe open it in a minute. Well, let's have a quick look. See, I'll quickly open it up, and if it's really well packed up, which I'm assuming, if I can't get to anything, then I'll leave it for the time being. But I'll just quickly. It depends how well he's packed it. Let's have a look. Well, it includes this. So I don't know if that gives you a hint. What can I show you? Any guesses? I'm looking forward to this one. This is going to be fun. I mean, that's a big gun, isn't it? So yeah, this is a very big box full of resin. That's just turned up. So another commission that I'm doing for Gilded Skull, and this one I am going to be filming. So this is going to be it is a Titan. This is a well, when it's all done, it will be a Warhound Titan. Not mine, as I said. This is a commission that I'm going to be working on. I've always wanted a Warhound Titan of my own, but I can't justify the money for one. So this is the next best thing. I get to paint somebody else's. This is my favorite of the Titan models. It's absolutely amazing. I love it. So yes, I'm gonna properly unbox that later. Double check I've got all the bits, and yeah, that'll be making a start. How much to charge for commissions? I like behind. What should we do now? That, as I said, at the moment these ones are going through a painting studio called Gilded Skull that I do a bit of part-time work for. I do take on, or have done in the past, kind of take on commissions off my own back as well, and that is something I'm kind of looking into doing again, sort of running along at the same time. So it really depends in terms of well, let's say in terms of charging. It really depends. It really depends on what it is. But yeah. Oh, that's going to be a good one. I'm looking forward to that. So, back to these guys. We're gonna go with orange hair. So it all feels a bit extreme at first, but this is a really bright red, bold pyro red, pro acryl. It's from Monument Hobbies. These are lovely paints. If you haven't used those before, I'd highly recommend them. Really nice. I haven't got anywhere near enough in my collection, but I would like to get some more. All the ones I've used up to this point have been fantastic. Only ever used Citadel paints. Yeah, yeah. Okay, that's like, again, that's very understandable because they're nice and accessible. They're easy to get hold of, and lots of tutorials kind of tend to use them, but there are some other good ones out there. I don't. I do stick to Citadel generally, just again just because it's easy, um, and I sort of know how I know what I'm doing with them, you know. But these, yeah, those Monument Hobbies Pro Quills are excellent, especially if you're airbrushing. I found that they are really good through an airbrush. They just seem to never seem to clog, never get any issues with them. So yeah, I know this looks a bit extreme at the moment with the bright red, but that will kind of get toned down. This is going to act like a base, and by the time it's done, again, it's still bright, but I'm going with that, which is a lot of the. Did they do any of them? I didn't see them on the box art stuff on the website, but the for new Space Wall stuff. But a lot of the old ones, there's all those sort of with the orange hair, sort of the ginger hair, sort of slightly exaggerated, very bright orange. We used to do it a bit more. I think maybe they've sort of toned it down a bit, but I quite like it. And it will also just adds a bit more character to them, doesn't it? It just kind of makes some of them stand out a bit more, give a bit more, make them a bit different. I don't want them to all look exactly the same. Try and give them a little bit of variation. Yeah, I am looking forward to starting on that Warhound. It's going to be good. And he's done a big chunk of the work for me by building it and doing all of that. So all I've got to worry about is actually painting it. I've built and painted a lot of Forge World stuff over the years. I don't actually own any. Never bought a Forge World model. I don't know if you've never experienced that, they can be a bit of a nightmare to put together. Just getting them prepped, ready to actually put them together is a whole thing. Maybe a few months in, so I've never done any Forge World stuff. Yeah, don't buy a resin Forge World model until, although Forge World isn't really a thing, but you know what I mean. Like it's not a separate website anymore, but don't do it straight away. Um, get used to doing everything else first because they're not like impossible to do or anything like that. But there's a lot more work. It's a lot more work just getting them in all in one piece. You get parts are warped, and um, you have to clean everything. You have to sometimes, depending on the size of the kit, you might need a saw as well. You've got to cut bits off that you don't need. You know, sort of like the sort of the gates for the molds and things. And you got to, once you get all the bits cleaned up and sanded, you've got to wear a mask because you can't sand it with that because it's really nasty stuff if you breathe that in. Um, and then once you actually got all the bits cleaned up, you then have to wash them. You put them in a sink with soapy water and a toothbrush and scrub them, get all the release agent off, and or sometimes having to put them into boiling water bits um, to reshape some of the bits that get warped. So yeah, don't touch a Forge World model until you sort of feel reasonably confident. mean, obviously, you do what you want to do. I'm not going to dictate to anybody. I'm just that would be my advice anyway. Wouldn't be too. Certainly wouldn't be the first thing I would jump into. Why didn't they do plastic of the molds more? It used to be a separate company entirely. Well, sort of a separate, no, maybe not a separate company, but a separate sort of branch. And it was all sort of specialized things. So it was all made out of resin. I think partly down to scale at the time. I don't think that in terms of being able to make stuff out of plastic was as easy, and it was so being able to do them those larger scale models. I think it was just easier to do them with resin. I think that's the case anyway. But nowadays, they've sort of managed to catch up in terms of the what you can do with a plastic kit, and so all those bigger things have been slowly but surely shifted over to be made out of plastic, which is much better. It's a much easier material to work with, and it's cheaper as well. So those kits aren't as expensive. They sort of like. I mean, there's still those big Games Workshop kits, and they're not still not cheap, but they're cheaper than buying the resin ones, the big knights and stuff that they used to have in resin. Plastic Titan. Yeah, I'd be very surprised if they ever did a Plastic Titan, because the cost of the molds and stuff to make something like that, and then the actual kit itself would cost a fortune. You'd have to justify it by how many people are actually going to buy the thing. You've got to make individual molds for all these kits and stuff. And if you're doing something the size of a Titan, I mean, it would be great. I'd be all for that if they decided to do it, but I don't know. I don't see it happening. I don't think there's enough. Because in the end, it's a business, so they're not gonna put money into something they don't think they're gonna make a profit on. I don't know. I just don't see enough people buying something like that. But it's still going to be incredibly expensive. Cheaper than making it out of resin, but it's still, a plastic wall or Titan would still cost a lot of money. Although it would be good. As I said, I've never. I always wanted a Titan. The Warhound specifically. That was my favorite one, I think. But I just can't justify that sort of money. Maybe one day, but so yeah, so now I get to paint someone else's, which is the next best thing. You to actually experience that, so that'd be fun. So that I will, as soon as this is out of the way, not out of the way in terms of like, I'm not saying I want to get rid of them, but once these guys are finished, then that'll be the next thing. And the plan is to film that as well. So keep an eye out for that. What do you put the recess on? So it's a black oil wash on these, which I did have a bit of a struggle with, I have to say. I've done oil washes before, but this one, I'm quite happy with the result now. At the time I was doing it, I was not massively happy with it because it wasn't. I think maybe, I don't know. I don't know what I did. I did something wasn't quite right. I think maybe I needed a bit more the gloss varnish over the top to get it all to sit in the recesses. It wasn't just sticking to the recesses. It was getting a bit too much staining, so I had to do a bit of cleanup and stuff. It wasn't quite working exactly as I wanted it to, but I'm quite happy with the result. It's fine now. Just at the time, I was getting a bit frustrated with it because the paint wasn't doing what I wanted it to do, which is never good. In hindsight, I probably maybe should have gone with a dark grey wash rather than just pure black. I don't know. It worked. I think it came out okay in the end. Shows a lot of you miss painting. Why can't you paint now? Or why aren't you able to? Always an easy. I mean, it could be all sorts of reasons, I suppose. But yeah, you can start to see that orange starting to come together now. And I do like that because that's sort of all those old pictures of Space Wars when I was younger. They always, they always had the bright orange hair, which they don't seem to do as much these days. But it works. It works really nicely because it's such a nice, complementary color to the blue, and it just makes it pop out really nicely. Yeah, this is Fire Dragon Bright, and it's just neat, thinned a bit of water, but not mixed with any other colours. So it's really bright. This one, it's very bright. It works as a nice highlight colour. Much reminds me of the hair colour picture. Pioneer Champion. Pioneer Champion. Is that what is that? Is that a Votan thing? I recognise that name. Anyway, can you see that okay? Sorry, gone all quiet again there. And then last step, I'm going to mix a little bit of this one into that orange, just to push it up one more. And this will just be the very tips. That's nicely painted space. Well, thank you very much. Yeah, I'm enjoying them. Yeah. I was hoping their owner likes them when they get back to them. Fingers crossed. Yeah, I'm quite happy with them so far. As I said, I have been enjoying this. It's been a nice project to work on. Fun. I don't think it'll take too much longer. What we'll do, we'll do all the little bone bits, all the sort of the teeth and all this stuff, all these little bits, and just it's all the little detail stuff, and all the armor I need to highlight. I haven't done that yet. I've only really done that on one or two of them just to sort of double check it worked. So this guy's this guy's a little bit more complete. So you can see this. He has got a bit more of an edge highlight and stuff. It's a relatively quick edge highlight. I'm not going too crazy with it, but it's enough to sort of just push it up a little bit. But yeah, they're getting there. They're getting there. And I haven't started anything. I haven't started this guy because he's going to be completely different in terms of the armor color. So I didn't do all the airbrush work, and then these three, they won't take too long. So I'm going to do those bits after this is all finished. Yeah, we are getting there. Let's just go back to this. So he needs some eyes and some teeth doing. So this is Hawthorne grey rather than a pure white for the teeth. Because yeah, if you put a I wouldn't use a pure white on the teeth because it's too much. It's too bright. This sort of just tones it down a little bit more, but it still reads as white, if that makes sense, without it being sort of excessive. I don't know if you're seeing that okay. Oh, right now this is the tricky bit. This is the worst bit. This is the bit you can ruin the whole thing. Just putting the eyes in. Yeah, I'm gonna have to keep putting more paint on it because it's been so. Most of this is from yesterday, and even though it's a wet palette and it is wet, it was so hot yesterday. It was just I was putting paint on here and it was drying before I could even use it properly. So that's why there's all these different. I'm not able to kind of really use it as a wet palette properly because it's not keeping the paint wet. Now this is going to be difficult to do this on camera because I can't get this close enough to my face. So we'll see. So if I screw this up, you can all see it. That's the white in, and on that one. At the moment, all of them that I've done up to this point, I've kind of just basically got them to that step where they've got the white dotted in, and I've not put any pupils in yet. And I don't know, I quite like it actually the way it looks, just with the white. So I don't know, it sort of looks quite. It does look quite nice, but I probably will. I'll go back and put the probably go back and put the pupils in. Depends, because that's the really difficult bit. Once you've got that, and then getting the pupils in, and actually getting to look like they're not, you know, cross-eyed or whatever. I really don't like doing this. See, this is the problem. Paint's dried before I even get it. Does that look all right? It's in the right place anyway. Yeah, that looks okay. I'll worry about the pupils later, because that's something I can't do on camera. That I'm gonna have to have these, like, you know, right up against my face to make sure I don't get them in the wrong place. I'm not going to do that now. What colour is this guy's hair going to be? Let's go with a brown. Let's try this. So this is Wildwood. This is contrast paint. So it's going to do some of the work for me. I will highlight it up as well. I need to do some blonde hair on a few of them as well. I haven't done that yet. Yeah, this has been some good practice on doing the faces. As I said, it's been a while since I've done any. In fact, I think the last time I actually did it was when I was trying to, as I said, trying to put a tutorial video together for it, and it was such a disaster that I deleted it and didn't bother doing anything with it. So something I'll go back to maybe one day. Yeah, just slapping this on at the moment. This will do some of the work in terms of the shading and the highlights and stuff, because contrast paint. Which are absolutely perfect for doing stuff like this where you've got lots of texture. Again, I apologise for being a bit quiet. I just while I'm concentrating. I've just had a text message from the passport office. That's fun. I had to get my passport renewed, and trying to get that dealt with yesterday was not a fun experience anyway. paint on his face. Okay, I'll need to touch up. I don't know if you can see that, but yeah, I'm getting. You have to go back to the skin tones and just quickly tidy that a little bit. See, this is it. Like, I mean, this is just drying. I only mixed it up a few minutes ago. It's already dry. It's just too hot. It's not really the best conditions to be doing this in, but there you go. This is the same thing that I did with the last one anyway. Sort of just dropping a little bit of the corn red in there, just around the center of the face. And again, I tend to kind of do it around any of these little metallic-y bits and stuff, and the studs and things, just because it helps to add a bit of definition between them. And I quite like the idea that it sort of looks like they're sort of scarred a little bit. Is that coming out okay? Let's move this light around. There we go. Looks a bit better. As I said, if I was doing a character, I would go a bit further than this. But it's enough. Does the job. This one, just realised I actually got an eyebrow there, proper textured eyebrow, so I have to paint that in. I don't normally have eyebrows. If it comes out okay. Says that again. It doesn't really. It's so difficult to tell on the camera, but and then I'm gonna do. What am I do for a highlight? So, sorry, I'm talking with the brush in my mouth. This is why you should put your paints away so you can find everything rather than having it all just piled up on your desk. Where is it? Where is it? Ah, here we go. Right, found it. So I'm going to use this to give some highlights to that, to the hair and stuff. This is an initial one anyway. I'm probably mixing a lighter colour as well, just to kind of do a second one. How do you pick skin colour to apply to a bare face? Depends on the sort of the facial features. I tend to kind of, some of them are quite obviously meant to be black, or sort of the different skin colours, or Um, if I was doing my sort of like a personal project and I felt like I had more time, I would mix it up a bit more and do some, sort of more pale skin colors and do a few different ones and stuff. But as I'm, as this is basically, yeah, as I said, this is a commission, so I want to try and keep things reasonably efficient. I'm kind of just sticking to the two methods, sort of the light skin, dark skin, and then just that way I can keep it all. It just sort of speeds it up a bit. But like I did, I did have a sort of Cadian guard army until maybe about 6 months ago, or something like that. I sold it um, to buy my Krieg stuff that I'm working on, and they all had a real mix of different skin tones and stuff. Um, it's quite fun doing it that way, but it's more time consuming because you're getting different paints out and stuff. And but just because of the way they, it's really just based on the model, on the face, the way they're sculpted. It just just it makes it's kind of clear what the intention was. Yeah, um, it can be quite nice to try and do different skin tones. I've got a few different methods for doing different ones. So a really light pale, really pale skin, um, which is quite nice to do. But so just trying to keep this simple. Oh, sorry, not on camera there. Hopefully that's coming out okay. You can see that all right. There's other thing as well that doing painting faces on Space Marines is so much nicer than doing it on, say, like a guardsman or whatever. Just because of the scale, it's so much easier. Just because of that little bit bigger. I've got here he is. This guy I painted a while back. Again, just the it's not drastically different in terms of the size, but it really makes a big difference when you're painting a face like that. So that was just done mainly with um, that face was done mainly with contrast paints. I think it was quite straightforward. But again, that's a different tone, a sort of slightly lighter, a little bit paler skin, and a bit sort of more exaggerating the shading and stuff. It was quite a nice little project. Anyway, so as we've got that grey there, mix that into that brown. And use it as a final quick highlight. Are those for commission or your what, the Space Walls? The Space Walls are a commission, yeah, they're not mine. Yeah. Yeah. I've already got my Marine Army. I don't think I could find the time to deal with another one. Yeah. This is nice and quick, this one. Quick in terms of, you know, we want it to look, it's getting that balance right. So so it looks, so you're happy with the way it looks and it looks nice. Um, but it doesn't take forever, which is, if you're painting an army, that's kind of quite important. I plan to commission paint. I think I have decent enough skills. There's probably more minis to paint to get better. Yeah, I mean, go for it. If that's if you feel confident doing it, go for it. Um, it's not for everyone. I know there's a lot of people that have sort of said to me that they don't, the idea of painting something and then spending ages painting it and then giving it back, or it's not your own, this doesn't appeal to everybody. But I've definitely found it's been good practice for me personally. Just because, yeah, you're working on stuff that you wouldn't normally work on, and you end up trying out or doing all sorts of different things that you wouldn't normally work on, So it's good. It's good practice. Now I'm really struggling to see where this guy's eye is. Sorry. Mm, not completely happy with that. I think that might need tidying up. Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's kind of there. Might have to tidy that up a little bit. Right. I've been on here for well over an hour now, so I'm going to take a bit of a break. So I'll leave you guys to it. So thanks very much for joining me. I know it's relatively slow paced and nothing too uh, mad and crazy, but thanks for joining me and keeping me company. Um, if you are interested in seeing what they look like when they're done, then they'll be. I stick pictures up kind of quite regularly on Instagram and stories and stuff. And there's actually a like an updates channel on my Instagram. So if you are interested, I do sort of post quite a bit in there. So go and have a look at that. There should be a link on the page somewhere for it. And yeah, if you are interested, go and have a look. So I'll leave you guys to it anyway. Thanks very much, and I will catch up with you all soon. Thanks very much. Have a good afternoon. Bye.